Disclaimer. Some of our content varies per video and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, in some content, we are critical of the video games, books, music, videos, and other creators on the platform. While we are a group-owned channel, our opinions expressed are solely on our own and may not always reflect the opinions of those associated with this channel. We at Novakast do not condone any and all harassment, i.e. cyberbullying, doxing, swatting, towards any of the people that we may be critical towards. How's it going, everybody? Rob here, back with another video, and with this one, I am going to, well, respond back to one of the channels that I have responded to in my own comments, as well as, you know, some of the other people that I've been responding to for the past couple days. But, because apparently this particular individual decided to make a video on me. But before I can get into that, I wanted to address a couple things. First and foremost, towards the beginning of every single one of my videos, normally I would have this particular clip in context for our disclaimer, but if you scroll into the description, there is the disclaimer as well, which it says that some of our content varies per video and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, in some content, we are critical of all video games, books, music, videos, and other creators on the platform. While we are a group-owned channel, our opinions expressed are solely our own and may not always reflect the opinions of those associated with this channel. We at Novakast do not condone any and all harassment, cyberbullying, doxing, swatting towards any of the people that we may be critical towards. So with that, I wanted to discuss a particular individual who was, I want to say, for the lack of a better word, has said slanderous things about myself and the channel. In one of my recent videos, I discussed, or at least responded to, two individuals by the name of Dog Disser and YOLO. And the video itself was titled Dog Disser and YOLO, Dog Haters That Are Misinformed. In this video, I'm going over comments and videos that were from these particular individuals. Now, a particular commenter and content creator by the name of Santanen Peakley, I believe. I don't know. But either way, they went on the channel, and as you could probably guess, with me discussing, or not really discussing, but in some sense being critical about certain beliefs in terms of the dog hater community, this individual decided to fire back. In one situation, trying to tell me that I was bullying one of the creators because, or the users, because as they've mentioned in the video itself, that apparently one of them was, in their words, a minor. Now, if I was bullying an individual that was a minor, I would be going against my own disclaimer. Now, I would say I would be in the wrong if I knew ahead of time as well if this individual was a minor, and I still continued to be critical on those situations. But by the end of the day, I was being critical by, again, two different creators on this platform. And upon, by the way, this individual spamming that I was bullying a minor, I asked, and to some extent kind of raising an olive branch to these individuals, because again, I looked at my video, I don't think I was bullying them at all, asked them repeatedly to send a time code of the exact time that I was bullying this individual, and if that was the case, if that was the actual case, then I would apologize. In fact, as I record this, I am still presenting that olive branch. However, as this video has been recorded, this individual has not presented a time code, and in turn has tried to, I hate to say it, had tried to slander myself and the channel for the sake of presenting ourselves as, or presenting ourselves in bad faith. Because, in a sense, we were in some way or another critical to these individuals. Now, moving forward, I wanted to bring up another creator that was commenting by the name of Sonia J66, who had a couple of lengthy comments on the channel. And I read through each and every one of them, and some things I wanted to address. So, first, they acknowledge that, one, I'm a dog owner, and I guess overall respect that I understand and acknowledge a lot of the issues that, you know, a lot of people deal with in terms of dogs, especially when it comes down to dealing with phobias, you know, the issues with dog bites, you know, etc., etc. And which I will say thank you for that, because, and going into another thing that this person brought up was my assumption that in terms of the conversation that one of the creators on the video, YOLO, was discussing, that I was under the impression that at least they were referring to all dog owners, which, if you could take a second, Sonia, if you are watching this, I want to some extent share my own experience with dealing some of the individuals in the quote-unquote dog-free community, where you have individuals that are, for a lack of better word, almost radicalized in a sense. And I know that sounds overcharged, but unfortunately there have been individuals that overall, if you are a dog owner or you're associated with dogs, then automatically you're evil. And I know certain people are going to be like, oh, nobody said, like, it's the way you present the information, the way you give your responses is to why people have that assumption. Again, there are certain people that, you know, look at, you know, don't like dogs. They are afraid of dogs, but to some extent they acknowledge their existence and will address the issues accordingly. I get that. I understand that. And I respect that. But there are individuals, and again, this came from connected to how I responded with YOLO, where we have individuals on this community that just treat everybody who is a dog owner, that treats anybody who talks about the arguments, just completely evil, because something dog, and then all of a sudden, oh man, you're a nutter, you're a dog lover, you're this and that, you know, automatically what you say doesn't matter because you dog this evil. So again, to Sonia, if you are watching this, that was my initial response, or at least the reason why I had my initial response, referring to, or at least thinking that YOLO was referring to 100% dog owners being a certain way. So I do, hopefully you can understand that whole explanation, and I will say that I should have been better on that. Now, moving forward, you did share some links for different information that, honestly, again, as an olive branch, I'm actually going to look into. Because I guess to some extent, I should look into more of the issue. So, as an olive branch, I'll look at the information. Now, as for another comment from Sonia, in terms of a particular form of wording that I used describing some of these channels. In terms of, I believe I call them hyper-focused and obsessive. Again, this is mainly due to past experience when discussing or debating certain topics with some of these individuals and looking at their channels. Mainly, the thing they focus on has been dogs. And to an extent, I understand your argument, whereas for YouTube, yes, a lot of people focus on a topic and will make a ton of videos. And you know what? I will admit this. At one point, I did do this, where periodically I would discuss a topic or respond to a creator, this and that. I know a lot of people did that when, in case you guys remember or know of the situation involving the whole Onision drama, or the Daddy05 drama, or heck, even as a random example, the Based Mama drama. But overall, people are allowed to discuss a topic. And in a sense, if they want to focus on that, then okay. I will admit that overall is an okay thing. But here's my personal belief, if you will hear me out, is that in terms of creating content, yes, there's going to be a lot of people that focus on a particular topic. But I would say, especially with, again, myself and many others who had focused on topics before, a lot of us would branch out and focus on other things as well. In case, I'm sure a lot of people don't see, because mainly it's been the dog videos. But as you guys see, or at least would look at my channel, there's other things I do. Sure, they don't get a lot of views, but at the very least, I portion or space out particular content. So that way, in some retrospect, I can give myself a break from a particular topic. Or discuss something else. Give myself time to focus my mind on something else. To expand my knowledge. To look at other things that... And I think that in going back to, focusing on other topics, other discussions, other issues, that's where I'm kind of getting at too. Because I know that was a big point of contention with some of the people commenting. With me mentioning, other issues. Is there are times where I have, on top of periodically looking at the dog-free content, I myself have, let's say, periodically looked at Hassan. Or let's say I wanted to just, have a day where I wanted to focus on, just creating something fun. And I create, a let's play, a reaction, this and that. So overall, I understand where you're coming from with the other comment. And you know what? How I said that, how I reacted, or in a sense, how I worded that was not the best. So with that, I will, again, extend an olive branch and overall kind of change my thinking a little bit. Now, with that being said, and to everybody who's followed me to this point, I want to discuss the particular video that K Nunn had made on me. Now, the video in question is called "We Don't Care About Human Issues?" ? At the beginning of the video, it is a screenshot of one of my community posts for YouTube of the Steven Crowder meme. of text saying dog haters or dog hater channels are obsessed with dogs to an unhealthy degree and pretend to care about human issues. Changed my mind. And that was the exact text that was on the meme as well. So, overall with this particular video, it starts off with him telling me that I need to understand an argument and an assertion, which I understand both. But it didn't seem like, especially with this individual and his looking at the comments, this individual clearly didn't understand what those two things were either. And I want to point out that this was all based, or at least in response to videos that I had made. Now, the video in question, because this individual wants to try to tell me where I'm wrong, but in some sense doesn't actually show anything of what I said or try to rebuttal anything I say in this particular video. In fact, they do show a quick glance of me in their video, but overall, no audio, just a quick fade in, fade out, and then that was it. And one thing I've always wanted to ask some of these individuals overall, like, what is the end goal for this content? What is the end goal for the community? What do you guys want? Because like I said before, there are certain individuals that acknowledge that there are people who own dogs, acknowledge that, you know, at the very least, some of the people that are dog owners are not an essential problem. But yes, there are individuals in the dog hater, or not dog hater, but the individuals in the dog community that are over obsessive with their dogs, that are, in a sense, putting people in danger because they understand that their dogs are a certain temperament and continue to bring them into public spaces anyway. As I've said before, in fact, I actually got flack from one of the individuals in the pitbull community saying that, at least in my personal opinion, that unless it's a service animal, many dogs should not be in public spaces. So I did get flack from the other community for saying such a thing. But always, I'm always curious about the end goal. What is the end goal for some of these channels for, or at least dealing with some of the issues with dogs? And in this video, this individual, in some retrospect, ends up kind of answering my question, which, if I can be brutally honest, I feel is unrealistic to a massive degree. After this individual, in a sense, tries to insult me, in a way, claiming I know nothing about this situation, just paraphrasing, this individual proceeds to share a large segment, basically just re-uploading a segment of one of their earlier videos. And one of the biggest things that kind of hit me with this particular video, or at least their video, was one particular phrase. No dogs, no problem. Doesn't matter if they are a good owner, doesn't matter if they are minimal in terms of the community or anything like that. Again, paraphrasing. There's no such thing as a good dog, a good owner, and that there should be no dogs. No dogs equals no problem. So, it goes to show, especially with individuals like this, where there is no, even if I were to extend an olive branch with this particular individual, in their eyes, I don't think there would be any discourse. Because at this point in the video, in which again, you can look it up, it's called "We Don't Care About Human Issues?" ? This individual feels that if you own a dog or associated with a dog, then you are automatically an issue. You are the problem. Because at this point, if there were no dogs in their eyes, there'd be no problems. Considering how ingrained dogs are in our community nowadays. Granted, again, I understand the issues. I recognize the issues. I understand that there are a lot of problems with dogs. A lot of issues that, again, especially in public spaces, that could be dealt with a little bit better. But what is the end goal for some of these individuals? Do we just, go from home to home, take the dogs out of the community, and then put them in the woods? Well, at this point, you have a bunch of wild animals, or at least domesticated animals, turn wild, and will just ravage through the local wildlife. Considering how many dogs are in our communities now. Granted, now if at this point, I would agree, especially with areas where the dog populations are so bad, especially, more specifically the stray dog populations, it would make a lot of sense to say, hey, we need to focus on reducing the stray dog population on site A, B, and C. I would understand those arguments. But to just say flat out that we need to remove all dogs, that we need to, at the very least, just say, hey, get rid of all of them. As I said before, just seems unrealistic, considering how ingrained they are in the community now. Now, me personally, again, I think we should have better laws in terms of public spaces, in terms of, what dogs are or should be in public spaces. Certain videos involving, dogs where, let's face it, you have the owners, and I think the worst one that was showcased by K Nunn, was the fact that you had a woman, recounting the fact that her dog peed on produce was sickening. Stuff like that should not be allowed. In fact, if anything like that happens, where an individual brings a dog and they mess in the location, that should be result to legal action for those individuals. I personally think that, especially with public spaces, there needs to be more stricter action for dogs, or on dogs, or dog owners, especially when things happen. I will say that in terms of dog attacks, then there needs to be more of a structure on how things are dealt with in terms of dog attacks. Because I'll be honest, I have heard horrible freaking stories where you have people that have neighbors that are pit bulls, that tear through fences, that killed another neighbor's chickens, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was done about it. Heck, in fact, I'm trying to get a fence right now because I have 2 pit bulls on either side of my house, and I have a ton of chickens that pretty soon are going to be old enough to lay eggs. So I want to have that extra security because, again, pit bulls, and unfortunately you have these neighbors that don't leash their animals or don't utilize the proper code that they're supposed to be while they're staying on the residence. So overall, I do think that there needs to be a little bit more structure involving the issues with dogs. I do. I do believe that there needs to be a little bit of structure. And this is, again, this is coming from somebody who owns 2 little dogs. But overall, and this is a message to K Nunn, I'm not going to be treated like I'm some monster or evil, or that I have nothing actually efficient to say just because I'm a dog owner. I'm not going to be treated, or many other people aren't going to be treated like we have nothing to say just because you disagree with us, or you feel that every dog is the problem. Which, again, from experience, we have seen and witnessed a variety of different channels, myself and many others, where you have these individuals that act this certain way. So, for now, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. This has been a blast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care, and I'll see you guys next video.